You ever meet a woman who seems completely out of your league, yet there's this one guy who walks up, says a few words, and suddenly she's leaning in, laughing, completely hooked. It almost feels unfair, doesn't it? But here's the truth. It's not about looks, money, or status. It's about psychological triggers. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to say to any woman to make her feel instant attraction, even if she doesn't understand why. So if you're ready to learn the dark psychological secret that women can't resist, stay right where you are. See, words are emotional weapons. They bypass logic and hit the emotional center of the brain, especially in women who are emotionally wired. You can't logic a woman into attraction. You have to make her feel something: curiosity, excitement, mystery, and even a little tension. Because attraction doesn't live in comfort, it lives in emotion. And the most powerful way to trigger that emotion? Through words that subtly challenge, intrigue, and validate her, all at once. But before we get to the exact words, let's talk about why they work. Think about the last time you felt genuine excitement about something. Was it because someone presented you with a logical argument? Or was it because something stirred inside you? Something visceral? Something you couldn't quite put into words? That's the difference between intellectual understanding and emotional experience. And when it comes to attraction, emotion wins every single time. Because the truth is, once you understand this, you'll never see conversations the same way again. You'll notice when women start playing with their hair, leaning closer, or laughing just a little too hard. It's not random, it's psychological. And once you crack this code, you'll see patterns everywhere. The way her pupils dilate slightly when you say something that hits right. The micro-expression that flashes across her face when you've triggered something deep. The subtle shift in her body language when she moves from polite interest to genuine attraction. These aren't accidents. They're responses to specific psychological triggers that you can learn to activate consistently. Part 1. The psychology of emotional triggers. Every woman has emotional buttons, and most men never learn to push them right. Here's the core rule. Attraction equals emotion plus uncertainty. Women don't fall for the guy who's just nice. They fall for the guy who makes them feel something unexpected. The one who keeps her mind guessing. What's he thinking? Why do I feel this way around him? So your words should never be about trying to impress her. They should make her react. Let's say she compliments you. Instead of saying, "Thanks," you say, "Careful. Keep saying nice things like that and I might start thinking you like me." You see what that does? It teases. It flips the script. It builds playful tension. But let's go deeper into why this works on a neurological level. When you create uncertainty in a woman's mind, her brain goes into overdrive trying to figure you out. This mental activity creates engagement. And engagement creates connection. Think of it like this. If I tell you exactly what's going to happen next, your mind relaxes. There's no mystery to solve. But if I hint at something interesting without revealing everything, your brain lights up with curiosity. It wants to know more. It needs to fill in the gaps. This is called the information gap theory in psychology. When people perceive a gap between what they know and what they want to know, they become motivated to close that gap. And that motivation feels like attraction. Now listen closely, because this next part is what separates ordinary guys from the ones women obsess over. The guys who understand this principle don't just get attention, they become unforgettable. They're the ones women think about when they're alone. The ones who occupy mental space long after the conversation has ended. And it all comes down to mastering a simple formula. Part 2. The secret phrase formula. There's a psychological pattern behind every powerful phrase that triggers attraction. It goes like this. 1. A tease or mystery. 2. An emotional spike. 3. A validation loop. Let's break that down. A tease makes her curious. An emotional spike makes her feel. And validation makes her subconsciously seek your approval. So when you combine all three, boom, instant chemistry. For example, imagine you say this with a smirk. "You're trouble, I can already tell." That line seems simple, right? But psychologically, it does three things. It teases. You're calling her trouble. It spikes emotion. She laughs or gets curious. It validates. You notice something special about her. And now, she's thinking about you. But here's what makes this formula so powerful. It creates what psychologists call a positive feedback loop. Each element reinforces the others. The tease creates curiosity, which makes her pay attention. The emotional spike makes the interaction memorable. And the validation makes her want to prove that you're right to have noticed her, which means she invests more into the conversation. Before you know it, she's the one working to keep your attention, not the other way around. Let's try another example using this formula. I have a feeling you're not someone who follows the rules. See how that works? You've teased her identity, suggesting she's a rule breaker, created an emotional response, she'll either confirm or playfully deny it, and validated her uniqueness. You've observed something specific about her. The beauty of this formula is its flexibility. You can adapt it to any situation, any personality type, any context. Once you understand the structure, you can improvise endlessly. Part 3. The science behind why it works. Here's the science behind it. When you say something that mixes playfulness and tension, her brain releases dopamine, the chemical of excitement and reward. And guess what the brain does when it gets dopamine? It wants more of it. So now she subconsciously wants more interaction with you. Not because of what you look like, but because of how you make her feel. And that's the hidden key. Women chase the feeling, not the person. Let me explain this more deeply because it's absolutely critical to understand. Dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. It's what gets released when you eat something delicious, win a game, or experience something pleasurable. But here's the interesting part. Dopamine isn't actually released when you get the reward. It's released in anticipation of the reward. That's why slot machines are so addictive. The dopamine hits when you're waiting to see if you've won, not when you collect your winnings. The same principle applies to attraction. When you create uncertainty and anticipation, when she's not quite sure what you'll say or do next, her brain floods with dopamine. She becomes biochemically addicted to the interaction. This is why predictable guys are boring. There's no dopamine release when she can anticipate every word, every reaction, every move. But when you mix things up, when you keep her guessing, when you create those little moments of, what's he going to say next? That's when the magic happens. And here's the really powerful part. Once her brain associates you with that dopamine hit, she'll start craving your presence. It becomes almost automatic. She won't even fully understand why she's so drawn to you. She just knows that being around you feels good. But here's the catch. If you say these words without the right energy, it backfires. Because psychology isn't just about what you say, it's about how you say it. I've seen guys memorize perfect lines, understand every principle, know all the theory, and still fail completely. Why? Because they delivered those lines with the wrong energy. Imagine someone saying, "You're trouble, I can already tell," in a nervous, seeking approval tone. It completely destroys the effect. Instead of coming across as confident and playful, it sounds needy and try-hard. The words are the same, but the impact is totally different. Part 4. The tone that creates desire. When you speak to a woman, slow your pace slightly. Lower your tone just a bit, and always leave a hint of mystery, like you're saying half of what you mean. For example, instead of saying, "You're beautiful," say, "You've got this energy about you. It's kinda dangerous." Now she's not just flattered, she's intrigued. You've shifted her focus from the surface to the emotional energy between you. And trust me, that's where real attraction lives. Let's talk about vocal tonality for a moment, because this is where most men completely miss the mark. A higher-pitched, faster-paced voice communicates excitement and anxiety. It signals that you're seeking something from her: approval, validation, acceptance. But a lower, slower, more measured voice communicates confidence and self-assurance. It signals that you're comfortable, that you're not in a rush, that you're perfectly fine whether she responds positively or not. Women pick up on these vocal cues instantly, often without even realizing it consciously. When you combine the right words with the right tone, you create what I call vocal charisma. Your voice becomes magnetic. People lean in to hear what you're saying. They hang on your words. And here's a specific technique. Use strategic pauses. When you're about to say something important, pause for just a beat longer than feels natural. Let the silence build anticipation. Then, deliver your line with quiet confidence. For example, "You know what I noticed about you? You don't seem like someone who needs anyone's permission." That pause creates tension, and tension creates attraction. You've been patient, so here it is. The phrase that sparks instant attraction, no matter where you are. Say this, casually, with confidence. I don't know what it is about you, but you've got this energy that's hard to ignore. Simple, but psychologically loaded, because it implies you've noticed something unique. Validation. You can't fully explain it. Mystery. You're subtly affected by her. Emotional connection. It bypasses logic and hits straight to her subconscious. Let me tell you why this particular phrase is so devastatingly effective. First, it frames the attraction as almost involuntary on your part. You're not choosing to notice her. There's just something about her that draws your attention. This removes any sense of neediness or agenda. Second, by saying you can't fully explain it, you create intrigue. Her mind immediately starts wondering, what is it about me? What does he see? She becomes invested in figuring it out. Third, you've complimented her in a way that goes beyond physical appearance. You're acknowledging something deeper, her essence, her vibe, her energy. This hits on a much more profound level than "you're pretty." And finally, the phrase is open-ended. It invites conversation. She'll almost always respond with, "Oh, really? What kind of energy?" Or, "Dangerous how?" And now you've opened a door into deeper, more personal territory. Part 5. Layering psychology for maximum impact. Now, if you want to take it even deeper, combine this phrase with strategic silence. After you say it, don't fill the space. Let her sit in that energy. That pause builds tension, and tension builds attraction. Most men rush to fill silence. The powerful ones let it do the work for them. Because silence, in psychology, equals confidence. Think about it. Who needs to fill every moment with words? Someone who's uncomfortable, someone who's anxious, someone who's afraid the other person will lose interest. But when you're comfortable with silence, when you can let those moments breathe, you communicate something powerful. You don't need anything from this person. You're complete as you are. This is incredibly attractive because it's so rare. Most people are constantly performing, constantly trying to be interesting, constantly seeking validation through their words. But you're different. You can say something profound and then just let it land. You trust that your words have power. You don't need to explain them, justify them, or follow up with nervous chatter. Here's a practical exercise. Next time you're in a conversation with someone you're attracted to, after you say something meaningful, count to 3 in your head before you speak again. Just 3 seconds of silence. Watch what happens. You'll notice they lean forward. They become more engaged. They start to fill that silence themselves. And in doing so, they invest more into the conversation. Silence is a tool. Learn to wield it. Here's what most men never realize. Attraction isn't something you earn. It's something you trigger. It's not about changing yourself. It's about changing the energy you project. This is perhaps the most liberating realization you can have. You don't need to become taller, richer, more handsome, or more successful to be attractive. You need to understand and activate the psychological triggers that create attraction. Yes, those other things can help, but they're not the foundation. The foundation is psychological and emotional. I've seen average-looking guys with average jobs captivate stunning women simply because they understood these principles. And I've seen conventionally successful, good-looking men struggle because they never learned how to create emotional chemistry. The playing field is more level than you think. It just requires understanding the game. Part 6. The Emotional Mirror Technique. Now I'm going to give you a psychological hack called the emotional mirror. Whatever emotion she gives you, mirror it lightly, but stay grounded. If she's teasing, tease back. If she's serious, match that energy, but hold your composure. This balance creates what psychologists call emotional resonance. When a woman feels like you get her, attraction multiplies. And when you combine that with phrases like, "You're not as simple as you look, are you?" You've just triggered curiosity, emotion, and connection, all in one line. The emotional mirror technique is based on the psychological principle of rapport. Humans are naturally drawn to people who are similar to them. When you subtly mirror someone's emotional state, you create an unconscious bond. But here's the crucial distinction. You're mirroring, not mimicking. You're matching the overall energy and mood, not copying specific gestures or phrases. That would feel fake and weird. Instead, if she's being playful and lighthearted, you bring a playful energy to your responses. If she shifts to something more serious or vulnerable, you honor that by becoming more grounded and present. This flexibility shows emotional intelligence. It demonstrates that you're paying attention, that you're attuned to her state, that you can meet her where she is. And that's incredibly rare. Most people are so caught up in their own heads, in what they want to say next, that they completely miss the emotional subtext of conversations. But when you master the emotional mirror, you become someone who truly connects. And connection is the foundation of deep, lasting attraction. Before you start using this on every woman you meet, there's one last thing you need to understand. Because without this final piece, everything else can actually work against you. This is the difference between being manipulative and being genuinely attractive. And trust me, women can sense the difference immediately. Final part, the responsibility of power. Dark psychology is powerful, but it's not meant for manipulation. It's meant for understanding. Because when you know how attraction really works, you can connect authentically, not desperately. So use this knowledge wisely. Don't try to fake it. Feel it. Live it. Speak from confidence, not from need. Because the truth is, a confident man who understands emotion is irresistible. Let me be completely clear about something. These techniques work. They work incredibly well. And that means they come with responsibility. You can use these principles to genuinely connect with someone amazing, to create real chemistry, to build something meaningful. Or you can use them to manipulate, to mislead, to take advantage. The techniques are neutral. Your intentions determine whether they're used for good or ill. My hope, my genuine hope, is that you use what you've learned here to become more confident, more authentic, and more capable of creating real connections. Not to trick someone into liking you, but to remove the barriers that prevent genuine attraction from forming naturally. Because here's the real secret behind all of this. When you're confident, when you understand emotional dynamics, when you can create chemistry through words, you're not becoming someone different. You're becoming more fully yourself. You're removing the anxiety, the overthinking, the desperate need for approval that blocks authentic connection. You're learning to express your natural charisma, your genuine personality, your real value. And that's when something magical happens. You stop trying to get women to like you, and you start enjoying the process of getting to know them. You stop seeking validation, and you start offering value. You stop performing, and you start connecting. That's the ultimate goal here. Not to manipulate, but to liberate yourself from the patterns that have been holding you back. So yes, learn these techniques, practice them, master them, but always, always, use them with integrity. Respect the person you're talking to. Honor their autonomy. Connect authentically. Because at the end of the day, the most attractive thing about a man isn't his words or his techniques. It's his character. It's his integrity. It's his genuine respect for others. Master the psychology, but don't forget the humanity. If this opened your eyes, hit that like button right now. Make sure you subscribe for more dark psychology and female mind secrets that most men will never hear. And don't stop here. Go check out the other videos on this channel for more wisdom, more truth, and more insight into how attraction really works. Drop a comment below telling me which technique you're going to try first. I read every single comment, and I love hearing about your experiences. And if you really want to dive deep into this material, check out the link in the description for my advanced program on mastering attraction psychology. It's where I share the techniques that are too powerful for YouTube, because once you understand the mind, you control the game. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Use what you've learned wisely, authentically, and with respect. Now go out there and create some real connections. I'll see you in the next video.